Hey gang, Professor Feeser here. I provide education solutions to large groups and organizations. If you're searching for a learning pathway for your team or organization, feel free to reach out. My contact info is at the end of the video. In today's lesson, we're going to study connecting GitHub to Ansible Automation Platform, AAP, with a webhook. A webhook is effectively just an HTTP post that has JSON attached to it describing some event. So, for example, GitHub has a code commit occur. Boom, HTTP post heads over to AAP and says, hey, code commit just occurred. In that way, we can then teach AAP that, hey, do something, i.e., like run a playbook typically. Let's start by looking at the repository we're going to connect to. Now, this is a public repo, but if you want to do this, hit like star on the repository, fork it. It's pretty simple. It has a README, which will connect back to this video. That's helpful for you in the future if you have to come back and see how this works. Additionally, there's a playbook that's very simple. It just says we have a real-time playbook running, i.e. a webhook showed up, and that webhook's causing the instantaneous run of the playbook. And then also follow Professor Feeser over on YouTube, right? That's pretty straightforward. I'm going to click on the settings gear. This is within the repository, so I'm still in AAP webhook. I'm clicking on settings. I'm saying that because there's a profile settings as well. We don't want to be there. This is repository settings. Over on the left, come down to webhooks, and that is where we add a webhook. Now, we don't have the webhook yet. We have to go create it in AAP. So to do that, we start with a project. We're going to create a project, and that project is simply a description of the repository that we just checked out. So everywhere, pretty much the name, the description, where we're syncing from. The source control type is Git. That covers GitHub and GitLab, Bitbucket. Organization default. This is a fresh install of AAP. Down here, the only box worth checking really is update, revision on launch. That means if a playbook runs from this project, go pull the latest version of the project, of the SCM, of their repository. And that would make sense if we're trying to set up a webhook. Like, hey, got a webhook, run a playbook. Well, the webhook's probably telling us that there was a new commit out on GitHub. There's something fresh to go grab and run. So I'm going to create that project. That'll sync, but there won't be any problems there. That will be successful. The next thing we want to do is hop to templates. We can build a template, and that's because we already have a default inventory created. We'd have to have an inventory that described localhost, but there's a default inventory that describes localhost. So let's create a job template. Same thing, I'm going to use the same URL. I want to run it. The inventory, I said demo inventory defines localhost. Project, there it is. We just created it. There's only one playbook available, so it's self-selected. No credentials, everything looks good. Now down at the bottom, we check enable webhook. This is kind of cheesy. Even after you choose GitHub from the webhook service, it's still grayed out. It's still the webhook URL and the webhook key say, yeah, you got to create job template. Okay. There's no place up here that you can see the webhook. I mean, details you think it might be. Oh, there it is. Down at the bottom, there's webhook URL. I was under the impression we had to go back into edit webhook to see it, but that's great. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. There's the webhook URL. There's the webhook key. Very cool. All right, so it's just hidden a little bit. We'll grab the webhook URL, and we're going to go back to GitHub. And over in GitHub, we just paste that URL in there. And then we also need the webhook key. Very good. Now, the content type needs to be application JSON. The secret is just, like I said, copy paste. It's not actually a secret from GitHub. You know, it has nothing to do with my account short of when this post is sent from GitHub to AAP, that will be a header that's included for authentication, authorization type purposes. All right, which events would you like to trigger? Push events, active. So we'll add webhook. Typically, they send a test event. See up here, that was created. We sent a ping test. And that's actually enough to make AAP run. If I look at jobs, yeah, see the playbook ran already? But maybe that's not convincing enough for you. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to come back to AAP. Let's go to the code base. Let's go into the playbook. Let's edit the playbook. And I saw this was actually just a little incorrect. The repository name is AAP-webhook. So that's a change. I'm going to make that change directly to the main branch. Commit changes. And we'll have to be really fast because an HTTP message was just sent to AAP, and that's why we see the playbook running. And moreover, the source control update was because we checked that box down at the bottom of the project. So we're getting the latest playbook running. That should be a playbook with hyphen in AAP webhook. Well, gang, that was nothing short of amazing. We were able to fairly quickly set up a project and a job template. We checked the webhook box. We were able to grab the webhook URL and the token, which we then placed in GitHub. That started allowing GitHub to be able to contact AAP in an informative manner and trigger runs. Now, the new feature that AAP offers is called event-driven Ansible. And what event-driven Ansible will allow you to do through webhooks is actually examine that HTTP post. So we can look at the JSON and say, is this a webhook worth responding to? Or if we're going to respond to it, which playbook, which job template from a number of job templates do we want to trigger? I have videos on that coming out. You're not going to want to miss it. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe so I can see you in the next episode of Code with Feeser.